You are watching a master at work.
I bumped into a friend of mine on a night out, and I always, like to play this thing where it's like, I know what fragrance you wear. And I was like, oh, how you doing? You are wearing Creed's Aventus. He said, I thought you really knew your fragrances because I'm wearing Tom Ford's Azure line. What?
On pop Molly, I rock TOMFORD. International, bring back the Concord.
Tom Ford's inspiration behind creating Azure Lime is one of his favorite island getaways in the Caribbean called Mesquite. Azure Lime starts off with quite a naturalistic take on what is a bitter, zesty lime blended with some cool water over pepper, woods, and musk. Very pleasing. These are not exotic, unusual notes you have never smelled before in a perfume. They're just done to a masterful level in terms of the balance of the notes and how pleasing they mesh together. As it develops on the skin, it absolutely gets even better as the white musk rises to prominence without ever taking over, like I find to be a severe problem in a lot of mass marketed fresh fragrances. The white musk begins to take on a sweet, almost sugarcane quality to it, which sort of lends credence to its inspiration of Caribbean islands. Some people have compared the smell to having a slightly mojito-ish vibe. I say it's a very sophisticated citrus. While citruses tend to be very t-shirt and jeans, think of your classic aquatics and classic fresh fragrances from the 90s and the early 2000s. They really fed into the culture of, baggy t-shirt and jeans, just everything really casual, messy hair. This is not that type of fragrance. This is definitely a sophisticated citrus, and the main culprit is that pepper note. Highly underrated, but well developed and well executed in this fragrance. You can definitely see that Tom Ford ethos well represented in this fragrance. A very simplistic blend. It doesn't have hundreds of thousands of notes. There's a little bit of floral elements in the heart that give it a little bit of depth and complexity. But overall, it's quite simplistic, but very high impact. It's an absolutely wonderful smell. The way it develops is very interesting and absolutely top notch. It gets better the longer it stays on your skin. Tom Ford's Azure Lime, in terms of scent, all the way to the top in terms of ratings for me. I mean, everyone that smells this absolutely loves it. It's not wildly unique or too hard to love. These are very classic, well tested notes that are used to compose this fragrance, and for that reason, it has a lot of mass appeal. Couple that with the fact that it has really good projection, especially within the first 2 to 3 hours of wear, and we're talking about a lot of compliments and a lot of positive feedback. Where this fragrance falls short a little bit is the longevity. I've heard a lot of people say they get 2 hours and it's gone. I even heard somebody joke and say they get just 20 minutes. I think that's a hell of an exaggeration. But the fragrance on average should last about 5 to 6 hours on the skin, which in the realms of normalcy is absolutely perfect. Is just good. That's gonna last you as long as most um, situations and occasions you're going to be engaged in. Obviously, it does not compare to Tuscan leather, which would last over 24 hours. Tobacco Beneath Dito Noir lasts, about 12, 13 hours. Italian Cypress about 18. So, in comparison to other Tom Ford fragrances, it lacks in that department. But in the realms of normalcy, it lasts a good amount of time. As for its versatility, a very versatile fragrance, definitely something that is not tuned to just one single occasion, one weather condition, one specific gender. It's definitely something that can be a signature scent for anyone. In terms of uniqueness, The notes are not wildly exotic or unique. We're not talking about oud, leather, amber, incense, civet. These are tried and tested, true fragrant notes that are quite common, very easy to love. So it's not unique in that sense, but it is a limited and exclusively distributed fragrance. So you can be sure that you will be smelling unique. It's not something that is very common, and so I do give it good marks in that regard. Azure Lime is one of my favorite TOMFORD private blends. Definitely a fragrance that you should consider adding to your collection. It really epitomizes TOMFORD's ethos of minimalist but maximum. It's simplistic, but the execution is so sophisticated. There is underlying complexity and depth to it. And every time you reach for this, you can be sure that you're going to be smelling pleasant. You're going to be smelling great. There's going to be just that touch of Tom Ford sophistication. The pepper really lends a lot of credence and luxury and sophistication to this scent. It's one of my favorite Tom Ford private blends. The longevity issues are well overrated. This is a fragrance that lasts a good amount of time. I know a lot of people that absolutely love this. It's one of my favorite summer fragrances.